Welcome to episode 9 of Ask the Trainer. Ready? Yes, Juno. Spin. Yes. And a fall. And Kuma's here. Shake. Yes. Oh, good boy, Kuma. Kuma's doing really well. The last couple days, I was even able to take him to the beach for his first time. Shake. Yes, good boy, Kuma. Yes, and he loved it. So look at his Instagram stories right now. We'll post them on his account too for those watching afterwards. He was so cute running around at the beach. It was adorable. He was so happy. Do you like the beach? Do you like the beach, my little cutie pie? Yes. Hi. Ready? Touch. Yes, touch. Yes, touch. Yay, good girl. Ready? Roll over. Juno. Yes, there we go. Juno's my sassy girl. Good job. Touch. Yes, touch. Yes, touch. Over here. Over here. She tries to throw out every trick in the book. Over here. Come on, all the way. Yay! Good girl. And Kuma just knows shake. Yes, that's okay. Good boy. Juno, are you done? Okay, she's all done. So yes, chew. Don't forget to chew, little baby. So yeah, Kuma's doing really well. The new vet that he saw, was that last weekend? I think just last weekend, is amazing. And she's up in Orange County. So she's the 8th vet that we've seen. But we're so hopeful. She's by far the best internal medicine specialist. So we're so hopeful that she's going to be able to help Kuma. So let's get started. We have a million questions, I think. So let's get started.
Our first question comes from Lauren, and she asks, "Hey there, I'm coming across the profile and love what you do. I am considering getting a dog, and I was curious what your advice would be to anyone thinking of getting a dog for the first time. I definitely recognize the amount of time and work it takes to be a dog owner, but I also know there is no joy like the kind a dog can bring. I'd be particularly interested in your thoughts around how to find the right dog for you when adopting. Your thoughts on potentially getting a dog from a breeder, and how much activity, socialization a dog should get during the days while someone is at work. If you've already answered this in your podcast, please let me know too. Thanks so much in advance."
Okay, awesome. So first of all, I absolutely love this question, and I absolutely love this person asking the question, because so many people do not think about what it takes to really have a puppy and don't do this preparation work beforehand. So right away, I can already tell you that you're steps ahead of so many other people, and this is so important to do. You need to know, get a good idea of what kind of dog you're getting, the energy levels, what it's really going to entail, because raising a dog is really freaking hard. It takes a lot of work, a lot of patience, so you really have to prepare for it. It's so much more than just bringing that cute puppy home. And it's just devastating when people do just bring that cute puppy home and don't prepare for it ahead of time. So it is so crucial to do that. And also make sure that you can afford that dog. The adoption fee or the cost of the puppy is a tiny fraction of what this dog is going to cost. If you do work all day, you have to keep in mind that you're going to have to hire a dog walker or dog daycare and, put those financials into play as well. But to answer your questions, hi, little baby. So first of all, I'm a huge rescue advocate, of course, but I have the lifestyle and I have the means to really provide for any type of breed. So that's something you absolutely need to take into play. Do you live in an apartment? Are you in New York City, or are you in San Diego in a house with a yard? Would you be able to, have a dog if the dog gets to be over 50 pounds? So you really, really need to figure out your lifestyle. How much exercise can you commit to your dog every single day? And really, really think about that before saying, I want a dog, or I want this breed for the looks, the everything, because it's so, so important. So exercise level definitely does depend on each dog and the breeds that the dog is made out of. But what I always do, where I found Juno and Grizzly, was on Pet Finder. So I a lot of the times have an idea of what type of breed I may be interested in. So I go on Pet Finder, which is an amazing website for all of the dogs that are up for adoption or are at the Humane Society through rescues. And you can filter out exactly what you're looking for. Now, it's very rare that you'll find a purebred anything on there. Well, I shouldn't say very rare. They actually do have them. Purebred, puppies on there, but you can click the age you want, puppies, young, adult. It's seriously so amazing. And I'm always scrolling through Pet Finder. And, based on your research first about the breeds, you'll be able to get a pretty good idea of what kind of breeds you might be interested in. So I would definitely start there before looking at a breeder, because there are amazing dogs on Pet Finder. When I got Juno, I knew I wanted a husky, which is the hardest dog that you could probably get. But I wanted that challenge, and I really wanted her, and I just really lucked out that she's mixed with German Shepherd as well. And when you're rescuing, you really don't know, what they're labeled as is probably, your guess is as good as what the dog is labeled as. They just go by what the dog looks like, maybe if they did know the dog's mom or dad, whatever. So you can't be 100% sure. So if you have size restrictions, it's gonna be really difficult to adopt a dog unless you're getting a little terrier or something like that. But I am so for adoption. I don't think that there's any dog that's too difficult. And I really think when you do get mutts, you get a mixture of a bunch of different breeds. Kuma, he's a really, really good puppy, but the issues that he's prone to, which is resource guarding and not socializing well, they're prone to being aggressive towards other dogs, and he's been socialized so well, and he still has resource guarding issues. So I think it was so much easier to raise and train Grizzly and Juno, because any kind of stubborn husky trait that Juno would have, she didn't have it 100% because she wasn't 100% husky. So it was a lot easier to use her other breeds to train her. That's what I think. And then Kuma's is 100%, so we're working on that training with him when he's feeling well. But I definitely, behavior-wise, I think that, and then health-wise, of course, I think that mutts are just easier in general because they don't have specific traits that's that you're going to get with that breed. So as far as what would be okay to leave your dog during the day, basically exercise, again, it's going to vary, but I would definitely keep in mind on the low end, you're going to need to take your dog on a walk 3 times a day, and I would aim for 45 minutes to an hour. And that would be the low end of exercise, I think. Puppies, they don't really need that until they're about 4 months old. They don't need those long walks or anything. And I don't even usually walk puppies until 4 months old. So as far as leaving a dog home during the day, a puppy can hold it the number of months old they are plus 1 hour. So keep in mind, if you bring home a 2-month-old puppy, you're going to need somebody there to let the puppy out every 3 hours. So that's where the finances come into play, or you're going to need to be home to let your puppy out. I think that answered all the questions there, right?
All right, the next question is from Zoe. Hi, Kaelin. I love your podcast and your posts. They've helped me a lot with training my puppy. However, there's a couple things I have questions about. One, Sadie is perfectly potty trained at my house, but when I take her to my brother's house or friend's house, she always pees or poops in their homes. I take her out every hour, and she will go pee or poop and sleep. But then she still goes potty outside. Sadie will sit on command, but I still cannot get her to lay down, stay, or come when I call her. She gets very hyper during training and luring. It just doesn't seem to work.
Okay, so there's a couple questions here, I think. So as far as bringing your puppy to other people's homes and them having accidents, I would predict that for sure with any puppy, bringing a puppy into a new environment. The best thing that you can possibly do is try to keep up that routine that you have at your home when you get to other people's homes. So I would absolutely bring a crate with you. I just recommended this to one of my clients the other day. Like, they were gonna bring their puppy to a home for like the Super Bowl party or something, and I'm like, bring the crate. Like, try to keep up with this routine of, when you can't be monitoring the puppy, or if you have to feed the puppy there, have her be in the crate, and then go outside and go potty, and she doesn't come back inside until she's gone potty outside. And let's say you've worked up to like 2 hours of free time after going potty outside at your home. When you go into a new home, you need to keep in mind that you're starting off from square one. So be on top of your puppy, be directing your puppy out every 20 minutes. This is a new environment, it's so foreign, and you're starting from square one. So just basically go back to the basics, what you did. Whenever I get a new puppy home, I take the puppy out every 20 minutes, basically, just to try to prevent accidents, because prevention, like I always say, is the very best way to potty train. Hi, Lovebug. Hi. As far as having difficulties training her because she's so excitable, not focusing during training time, leash her. It's what I have to do with probably 80% of puppies that first come to my home. Is they're so excited, for like board and train programs I'm talking about. The first few sessions we definitely have the dog on a leash so that they have no other option but to listen. Kuma, hi baby boy. So leashing your dog, if you can't seem to get your dog to focus, goes very, very far. Otherwise, you tell your dog to sit, he goes and grabs a toy, he goes and eats something, like he's rewarding himself by not listening to you. You need to teach your dog how to stay focused. A young puppy is not just going to do that on his own.
All right, our next question is from Amy Lou. What are the first steps to help stop pulling?
Okay, funny you ask. I just did a YouTube video on this, literally just shot it today. What we focused on in the video was, there's going to be more details on that. I already gave that to him today. Yeah. Okay, sorry, back to the question. So the very first thing that you want to do, that actually we didn't go over in the video, is I would always teach a wait and then with a release word out the door. Because a lot of the times, once that harness, leash, collar, whatever goes on your dog, they're mentally out the door already. So that is always step one, is making sure that you don't even start walking until you have your dog's focus. I see all the time the dog is looking ahead and then the owner just, walks out the door. And it's like, if your dog is mentally out the door, the second you start walking, he's physically pulling. So make sure that you have your dog's focus. That is definitely with whatever leash issue you're having, you need to absolutely make sure that you have your dog's focus. That's step one in solving any leash-related issue, whether that just be pulling, reactivity, aggression, whatever it may be. You need to make sure you have your dog's focus, because the second that a dog goes out the door, the dog has 0% focus naturally on the owner. It's like, what's this smell? What's this bird, squirrel, whatever. So you need to be calling your dog to focus on you. And I would definitely, in the beginning of this, bring treats, treats, treats. You have to be more motivating than anything outside. That's very hard to do. So to establish that routine of getting your dog to check in with you, use treats, use a toy, use a squeaky, use a ball. Use things that will motivate your dog to look up at you, absolutely. So that's definitely step one. And then make sure for the rest of the tips to check out my healing video that will be coming soon.
All right, and the next question is from Lauren. What should you do the first day when you take your pup home?
Okay, so the first day that you take your puppy home, you should definitely prepare ahead of time. So you should have a crate, everything that you're going to need. Right away, establish that routine. Right away, get into the crate training and the potty training. So many people jump into starting off having really bad habits right away. It's like the first week, oh, well, the first week has just been like a free-for-all. And the best possible thing you can do, I know you're going to want to be with your puppy every second for that first week, is to start incorporating the crate as the dog's safe place. Meals taking place in the crate. Establishing that designated spot out in the yard to go potty. Like, jump on everything, that routine, all of that I go into so much detail about in my puppy training handbook that's on Amazon if you haven't purchased it. And just make sure that you're right off the bat following that routine. Other than that, I would say the routine is the most important thing, and just make sure you have everything ahead of time, and so you don't have those chewing objects immediately. The antlers, the bully sticks, the Himalayan shoes, and I have a puppy preparation checklist in the book, or is it on my blog too? And on my blog at allthingspups.com, that has that checklist there, so check that out. But yes, aside from that, just don't be focusing so much on like command training. Oh, my dog needs to learn sit, down, roll over, all of these different commands. Focus on establishing that routine, because with that routine, you have a happy dog, you're happy. Potty training resolves a lot faster. The dog is potty trained a lot faster, and you just start off with amazing behaviors. You don't start off with, inducing separation anxiety right away. That's just so, so important to get on that right from the start.
Okay, the next question is from Kona and Duke. We are crazy jumpers when people come over, and it is driving our parents crazy. If you have any tips for that, we'll be listening. We haven't tried that yet. We try to turn our backs when they jump and walk through the door calmly when we come home. It pretty much works for us, but when other people walk through the door, they freak out and go crazy.
Okay, so the very first thing, I said, is he okay? Feels really hot. The very first thing that is so important when you have a dog that's a jumper is that you are always redirecting that jumping to the right behavior. So that is one of my golden rules, is that redirection is key to shaping behavior. And a lot of people don't think about that redirection piece, especially with the jumping, and why it's important, because when you just tell your dog off, you're essentially telling your dog no, but not redirecting them to the right behavior. And people don't understand the importance, because you get what you want, you get the dog off. But what redirection is so important for is that next time that the dog feels like he wants to jump up on you, that has something else to do. Hi, baby. That he has a different way to exert that excitement. If all you're ever doing is telling him off, no, he's just going to, that next time and the times after that, he's going to resort to what his natural instinct is just to jump up. So make sure with that off, once his paws hit the ground, that you are telling him sit and then praising him for that. A really good exercise that I like to do with my clients' puppies who jump is almost entice the dog to jump. And when I say entice, I don't mean like commanding them to jump up, but I'll stand there with a treat and like get the dog in that excited state. So I'll stand there with a treat and say, hi, oh my gosh, hi, hi, and I'll try to get them in that excited state where they do want to jump, and then direct them to sit. So if they are jumping up, tell them off and then sit. If they do jump up first, all they get is praise when they do sit. If I'm saying, hi, 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 oh, perfect example. Off, sit, yes, so just praise. Good girl. Yes, Juno, yes. Let's try again. Hi. And I let Juno jump up when I'm sitting, so off, sit. Juno. 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 Yes, but since she jumped up first, all she get is that. I'm gonna try again. Hi! Hi, June, how do you get this? Hi! How do you get it? Yes, you sit for it. So if they have, and this is better when you're standing up, that's how I like to do that exercise, but if she has full self-control to sit instead of jump up first, that's when she gets the praise and the treat. Yes, good girl. So it just gives them a little bit of motivation. Hi, buddy, are you hot? Good boy. Gives them a little bit of motivation to make the right decision immediately. The other thing that I would do is teach a go to your bed. Oh, careful, honey. A go to your bed command and a stay. And you're going to want to practice that when nobody is even at the door first. Develop that routine in a less excited state. Then I would have, and I've been doing this actually with my own dogs, with my boyfriend. I either have him or I go and knock on the door because they love to bark when somebody comes to the door, which I'm fine with like a couple barks. But then once I say like that's enough, I want them to turn it off and not be barking at somebody when they walk in. So the knock happens, they bark a couple times, and then we direct them to go to a place. And then we either do a wait or a stay. So somebody can come in the door, and they're not allowed to go and say hi until, if we use a wait, until the release word, they can go greet that person. If we use a stay, it's going to be, they're not going to be able to get up until we go back to them and tell them yes and reward them. So teaching the place and the stay, adding that in with a knock on the door, and then adding that in when somebody's actually here goes very, very far. And while practicing, the very best thing that you can do to set your dog up for success is have the knock on the door, tell your dog to go to the place. You can use place, spot, bed, whatever you want to use. Hi, baby. Can you put him by the fan? Whatever you want to use. And then don't even go towards the door. Oop, his toe isn't. There we go. Don't even go towards the door until your dog is settled and has forgotten about what's at the door. Because if they're still mentally like, oh my God, there's somebody there, they're not fully controlled. So the more you can practice that full control, the better.
All right,
yes.
The next question is from Jamie. I have a deaf Frenchie that I'm struggling with approaches to teach her not to bark excessively. She barks randomly at other dogs and people on walks. Once she starts barking, it's hard to regain her focus. What would you recommend?
So when your dog is deaf, it makes it obviously a lot harder. So what I would do to work on that reactivity with a deaf dog is, if she's already barking, so the point of when you're working through reactivity is you want to try to catch it and work at a distance before your dog starts barking. So I would work at like outside of like a dog park. I love to use the dog park or a fenced in area if you have neighbors with like a fenced in yard, so that you can control that distance up to the other dog just during training. Find that distance where you can half get your dog's focus. What I mean by that is find that distance where your dog is looking at the other dog, but typically I say when you're calling your dog's name, your dog will look. With a deaf dog, put the treat, the dog is going to be looking at that other dog, and you're kind of sitting right here. Put that treat up to the dog's mouth to try to turn the dog's attention to you. Totally fine to do that, and keep doing that in that same spot until your dog is no longer staring at the other dog over there. Once your dog can look, and this like entails literally you sitting on the ground in one spot. Time is your best friend, because if that distance stays the same, those other dogs, dog, whatever it is at that distance, gets less and less intriguing. So it's just going to be you getting your dog to focus, so that your dog associates other dogs mean, oh, I look over here and I get a treat. So once your dog looks over, so first you have to get to the point of too much focus on you. So once you're at that point where your dog doesn't even care about those other dogs, I kind of like will put the treats behind my back and just kind of let your dog's mind go a little bit. But before you let your dog's mind go, it's so important to get total focus on you. When you first get to that spot, it's going to seem hopeless. It's going to seem like you're never going to be able to get your dog's focus on you, but you will. Time is your best friend, trust me. So once you get total focus on you, let your dog's mind go. Your dog, to be able to move forward to that next spot, should look at the other dog and look back at you on her own, his own. If your dog looks over here and starts staring for like more than like 5 seconds, you know he's not ready to go forward yet, and you want to go back to putting the treat to his nose and pulling his attention back to you and resuming, do it all over again until you get total focus. Then let his mind go again, and once he looks back at you, that means he has enough self-control to look, not react, and also snap himself out of it to look back at you. Then you can move a little bit closer and do the same thing all the way up to the park. Yeah.
Okay, the next question is from Grace. Any tips for dogs with bad anxiety? My dog is terrified of people he hasn't met. He hides under the table, in between my legs, shaking uncontrollably. Super scared of random things, and will run away and bark at random things around the house. He is hesitant to go out as well. We have tried the thunder jacket, but now all of a sudden he is terrified of it, and we can get it on him because he runs away and hides. Any tips you have, I'd love to hear.
Do they say the age of the dog? No. Okay. So it sounds like, and they didn't say rescue or anything.
No.
So it sounds like this dog definitely has like some deeper issues that he's afraid of so much. So it's definitely probably going to take a lot of individual like behaviorist and trainer advice and training. Honestly, when you're desensitizing a fearful dog, you actually want to keep directing the dog's focus to you. So let's say somebody comes over, your dog is afraid of that person. People think like, oh, just push him to go like say hello. And yeah, maybe he'll end up being okay with that person, but it's not going to solve his deep-rooted issues. What you need to do is let your dog know he doesn't need to judge that person who's coming in. He doesn't need to judge that thunder jacket. Whenever he's afraid, look to you, that person that he trusts, and that will keep his mind controlled. So I think people are hesitant to do this because they think like, oh, Rover, 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 look at me, don't even look at that person, is kind of like telling him that person is bad, don't even look at that person. But when dogs have full mental freedom to look at something that they're afraid of, you're ensuring that he will never get over those things, because he can't do that on his own. So I always say, like, when you desensitize a person of something, like if that person was afraid of somebody coming into the door, you would just expose yourself to it over and over and over again, because you have that voice in your head telling yourself like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Dogs don't have that voice in their head, so when they're exposed to something and their mind is also exposed to that person or scary thing, they are never going to get over it. So we have to be that voice in their head to tell them it's okay. So it's just shifting their focus here. And the ultimate form of desensitization in a dog, what ends up happening is like, oh, I was focused here and that person was like walking by, that person was here doing all that, and we're all okay. Then the dog actually ends up being okay with that person a lot faster. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. If your dog is super fearful of things too, I would, it just depends on the extent. So definitely I would consult a behaviorist and trainer near you to really get a good read on your dog. Yeah.
Okay, the next question is from OK Pet Project. I've been working really hard with my rescues on their leash reactivity, but one gets so amped up, he turns that excess energy onto his sister, and I don't know where to redirect it. This is specifically when another dog is passing on leash. What's the best way to calm her down?
Okay, so take that advice that I just talked about with the deaf Frenchie, and you need to do that, but you need to do it with your dog individually, without that other dog, because if your dog is taking it out on the other dog, that means he's not even controlled enough to look at you like on his own. So you need to make sure that you have that reactivity, resolved, just him by himself, to be able to want to take it out on the other dog, want to react, but knows to look to you instead first. Then once you have that, you can add in the other dog and walk them together. And I know that's super inconvenient. It's hard when you're going on a walk, you're gonna wanna walk both of them at once, but you absolutely need to take the time to work on this one by one. And if that means each of their walks are shorter with more brain work during the walk, that's totally fine, because the brain work is going to be mentally exhausting for them. But yeah, I definitely think that you need to develop that solid base of working through that reactivity using the desensitization and counter conditioning that I just mentioned a little bit ago, working up to that park. First with your one dog, then try to work with both of them together, because that would be the next challenging step. Yeah.
All right, the next question is from Deacon the dog. Hi, we have a 1-year-old rescue who is anxious. We live in a condo and he gets set off barking when he hears other people coming and going, doors closing, people in the hall, etc. If we're sitting with him, we can quickly work on getting his attention when we hear the sound, but if we're in another room, we can't always prevent it before it starts. Is it okay if we end up getting his attention and keeping his focus once he starts barking? Would he think he's getting treated for barking? Thanks.
So I think I just posted a video on this, right? With Sunny? Yeah, I just posted a video on this exactly. And I talked about these two different scenarios or situations. One where you can be on top of your dog right away to direct that barking. And two, when the dog starts barking, how to redirect that. So to really resolve a barking issue like this, you do need to be on top of it. And I know that's really hard, so you have to kind of be able to, I would have my dog on a leash if we were just hanging out, so that you can redirect him immediately to try to prevent that barking. And then I would also kind of set the dog up for situations like have your dog right here, have somebody like holding a treat almost, and knock right here, and then, or whatever triggers set him off, make those noises so that you can redirect him instantly to prevent that barking. Do that over and over and over again, and then obviously with the people walking by, use that. But your second question is, if he does start barking, you're doing absolutely the right thing at shifting his mind to, I think you're shifting it to come to you, which is great. You can either shift him to come to you or direct him to go to his bed. Because what's super important when you have a dog barking like that is that you redirect him. You give him a different job to do when he thinks it's his job to like bark and protect and alert you. So that's great. And no, once you shift his mind to you and you're feeding him treats, he's not going to associate when I bark, I get a treat. Once you shift his mind to you, he understands that's what he's getting treats for. So use treats, toys, squeaky toys, whatever can shift his focus off of that thing first, and then worry about like weaning off of the treats. Then you can be a little bit more strict with like if you do the bad thing first and don't fully control yourself, then you only get praise when you do control yourself. You're only going to get a treat if you want to bark and don't and look to me instead, then you get a treat. But worry about that later on once you have a really solid, first you have to get to the point where it's not really happening at all. So it's just treats. It's so controlled. Then you can start to do the training that way and motivate him a little bit more to make the right decision faster. Yeah.
Okay, the next question is from Alex. How do you teach a puppy to walk on a leash? And going forward, how to walk without stopping every 2 seconds to smell?
So, teaching a puppy how to walk on the leash, I already answered that one. I usually don't really worry about teaching a dog to like walk properly on the leash until like 4 months old, maybe 3.5 months, if you're really like eager to do it. But the beginning is just getting your puppy used to that leash feeling. Like let your dog for like a month, 2 months, just kind of explore. And just get used to like not biting on the leash. So you definitely don't need to work on like healing right away. Like 4 months is a good age to start working on that healing training, getting your dog to walk properly on the leash. So a video is coming again with the step-by-step on healing training, but just work on getting your puppy's focus while walking too, and bring treats, get your dog to start off being motivated by looking at you and not the rest of the world. And then the stopping thing, whenever people tell me how much they should let their dog stop and sniff things on the walk, I always say it's up to you. If you don't care that your dog is sniffing things, then let him. If you do not want your dog sniffing things, then don't let him. Pull him along, redirect him with treats to continue the walk. I think it's a total owner preference. I know there's other trainers that will say, like, do not let your dog sniff or let your dog sniff, I don't know. But I think it's totally owner preference. Like occasionally I'll let my dog sniff and then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to keep going, so let's go. And just let them know that you're in charge of the walk. So if you say it's time to snap out of the sniffing and go, just go. Yeah.
All right, the next question is from Sam. Tips on introducing my puppy to my current 2 dogs.
So, tips on introducing a puppy to 2 dogs. It really depends on the other dogs, I would say, at how you should go about this, how sensitive you should go about this. So I always suggest letting the dogs meet in neutral territory first. And then, if you have really young dogs that are very well socialized, I would definitely you can have them meet at the house, but you're always going to play it safe, letting them meet in neutral territory and then going to the house. So it just really depends on the other 2 dogs, but what I always say, the best way to do it would be to have 2 dogs on a leash, be at opposite ends of the room or opposite, far away, and each person that has the dogs on the leash should just be trying to redirect their focus off of the other dogs. if they're zoned in on each other, there's a buildup of overexcitement, which overexcitement can lead to loss of self-control. And then that whole time they're getting closer, pulling to get to each other, it could just be madness and total loss of self-control. If you have an older dog, they could get pissed off faster with the crazy puppy jumping up on them. So to make it as controlled as possible, keep focusing your dog, both of the dogs' focus up onto you, and then you ensure a controlled introduction. Then when they do say hello, just let them say hi for like 2 seconds, call them back so that they take a break. And then once they're focused on you again, go and let them say hi for another few seconds. And then you can continue to increase that time that they're saying hello. It's always good to let them first just meet each other being controlled before you throw in the other variable of, you know, there's this new dog, and then the second variable would be it's a crazy puppy that has zero self-control, because sometimes both of those variables at once can make that resident dog very upset. So the more controlled, the better. If you want to introduce them through a boundary too, like through a crate or through a gate, through the screen door, that's always good. I'm all for like boundary introductions. So just make sure they're comfortable enough with each other, like on a leash or through that boundary, before letting them go off the leash. Yeah, so thank you guys all so much. I'm sorry we didn't get to all the questions. I know there's a million more, and we will see you next Friday again for Ask the Trainer. Thanks, guys. Bye.